Hi, I'm Phillips, European Tour winner and PGA coach. And today's lesson is all about how can we shape the ball. Okay, so how can we get those nice fades and nice draws at will? You're going to find out in this video. Okay, welcome back. Let's get stuck in. I've got a 6-iron right here, and obviously in this video we want to get into how we can shape the ball. And really, it's really simple. I'm going to keep it simple. There's a few setup changes we need to make, and the two real main areas that we need to have awareness of is club face, number one. Okay, the club face is going to dictate massively where the ball starts. Okay, and that's critical. You have to understand that. This club face position at impact is going to be around 85% responsible for the starting direction of the golf ball. And secondly, the direction that the club's moving in, the path of the club head. So we need to match the path of the head with the direction of the face at impact to get the right spins on the ball. Okay, if that club face is pointing exactly where the club is traveling, it's going to go dead straight. Okay, if we want to move it from right to left and draw the ball, we need that club face to be slightly closed to the direction that it's moving in. And if we want to fade it, we need that club face slightly open to the direction that it's moving in. Now, what influences the direction that the club head moves? Well, angle of attack. So whether we're coming down steeply on the ball or whether we're coming in very shallow affects the direction that the club head moves in. Okay, you just need to remember a couple of simple things. Okay, the steeper that we come down on a ball, the more to the right that club head is moving. Okay, the steeper down we come into the ball, the more to the right the path of the club head moves, and the shallower that we come into the ball, or the more on the upswing, if you like, that we come into the ball, then the more the club head moves to the left. So we've got some nice basic ways there that we know we can control to a degree the direction that that club head's moving in. Now, aiming is obviously a massive factor in where that club head will swing to as well. So obviously if I aim my shoulder line way to the right of my target, there's a good chance that my swing direction will also be to the right of my target. Okay, shoulder alignment does influence path of the club head. Okay, so conversely, if I aim way left with my shoulder line, there's a good chance my swing path will be somewhere to the left. Okay, if you have a massive over the top or a massive underneath move in your swing, that's going to affect where it goes, but your shoulder alignment is going to have some degree of effect on the swing path there. So let's start off with a draw shot. So straight away, if I'm a right-handed player, which I am, and I want to start the ball to the right of target and move it back to the left, then I'm going to need to aim to the right of my target. That would be a good idea initially. Okay, so I want my shoulder line to be definitely to the right of my target if I intend to start the ball there and draw it back. So aiming is point number one. Let's aim for the shot that we want to hit. Okay, I'm talking about a draw now, so I'm aiming my shoulders to the right of my target. Now, I'm being specific with shoulders there because it's the shoulder line that really influences the swing path and the swing line. My feet could actually be going to the left, but if I've twisted my shoulders to the right, I've got more chance of swinging in that direction. Now, I'm not recommending that you aim feet left and shoulders right. It's a better idea to get hips, feet and shoulders nice and parallel, but aiming somewhere to the right of your target if your intention is to draw if you're a right-handed player. Obviously, you guys have got to reverse this if you're left-handed. So, point number one, let's aim for the shot that we want to hit. So I'm going to aim everything parallel to the right of my target. Now, how much you do that is obviously going to influence how much shape you're going to need to put on the ball. Okay, for a minimal draw shot, a shot that we'd expect to see moving maybe 5 to 7 yards in the air, then it's going to be a good idea to aim somewhere between 5 and 10 yards to the right of your target. So, aiming to the right of the target, point number one. That's going to give us a good chance to at least have a chance to swing in that direction. Those shoulders are pointing in that direction. Now, ball position, where I put the ball in my stance, can influence that angle of attack that I was talking about earlier. So if I start shifting the ball to my right as a right-handed player, or back in my stance away from the target, if I start moving the ball away from the target in my stance, that's going to give me more chance of hitting down and therefore more chance of swinging out to the right. So it's a good idea if we're trying to hit a draw to move that ball back one ball, just one ball width to the right of your normal ball position. So if I'm hitting a 6-iron normally and I'd have that ball lined up maybe just on the target side of my sternum, it's a good idea to move that back now maybe to the right of my sternum, okay? So just a little bit on the opposite side of my sternum. It's roughly moved about a ball's width there. So if I take this ball here, I'd be aiming to the right, and I just want to feel, could be a good idea to set up normally and then just shift an inch or an inch and a half toward the target with your body, so you know that that ball has gone back in your stance. Now that's going to give us a good chance to just hit slightly more down on the ball. It's going to send the path of the club head a bit more out to the right. Okay, now with a draw shot, now this is preferential. Now we're aiming right, we've put the ball back a little bit so it's changed our path to a degree, hopefully. Obviously this is dependent on your particular swing path, okay? If you come massively over the ball, please go and watch my video on anti-slice where I teach you great right elbow moves, rear elbow moves there to help you coming over the top. But based on a relatively neutral swing path here, if we aim to the right and we set that ball back in our stance, we're going to have a slightly more descending attack angle. It's going to send our path out to the right. Now, if the club face is very square to our shoulder line and we've got a path that's now going out to the right because of that ball position, that means the club face is now slightly closed to the path, which is going to give us a draw. Okay, now what we need to do is play around with this. There's no exact science here. Now you're going to need to hit shots from a slightly back ball position, okay? Look at the ball flight. If they're not curving enough, that's when we can do two things, okay? This is preferential. The first thing we can try is we can try to slightly close the face at address, okay? So we're going to slightly turn that toe in so that the leading edge looks a little bit shut, okay? Then we're going to make the same swing and are going to observe the ball flight and see if the curvature changes. If the curvature starts to change to the amount that you're after, great, okay? If it starts hooking too much, we're going to play around with that club face until we see the right curvature. Now, another way of curving the ball or accentuating the right to left curve is to do it with face rotation through impact. So in other words, you're going to need to feel that the forearms are rotating through the hitting area. So you're going to just start to play around with different amounts of face rotation using your hands and forearms to quite literally close that face. And you've got to experiment with that, okay? Do it too much, do it not enough. Watch the changes in ball flight. Build up an education in your hands and how much you need to feel to get different amounts of shape. So there's different ways of moving it. There isn't one way that's correct, okay? It's the way that's correct for you. So let's just recap on the draw there. You can either aim to the right, move the ball back slightly in your stance and slightly close that club face at address, okay? Then you don't need to feel lots of hand rotation through the ball because the face is already closed. You can make a normal release at the ball and you're going to observe the ball flight and you're going to play around with that face position until you see the right amount of curvature for you. If that's not working for you, if you don't find that consistent, you're going to go back to a square club face to your new alignment, which is to the right. Remember, we're aiming to the right now, so that face is going to be nice and square to your new target, which is 5 to 10 yards right of your desired target. And then you're going to play around with rotation of the face. So we've still got that ball back in our stance a little bit. That's going to give us a little bit more of an in-to-out swing path. And then we're going to play around with face rotation. We're going to experiment with different amounts of forearm and hand rotation through the ball. So we're trying to get the toe of the club to actually turn over. We want the toe of the club moving faster than the heel of the club. Okay, so two ways to get that draw spin. Tune into part 2 of this video where I'm going to get into the fade.